It's a big news day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast has announced 6 new secret lairs, and if that wasn't enough, we've also got another Double Masters 2022 leak.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends! I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered to talk about a whole bunch of awesome new secret lair cards and for another round of Double Masters 2022 leaks. So let's start out with the leak action. Up on the screen, you're going to see an image I was sent by Greg Adams. This is Ulamog, and take an extra moment to notice that this Ulamog is textured. So I said that we would most likely see the third Eldrazi Titan, and here he is. This is your fat daddy, 11 casting cost, 10/10. I destroy a guy when you cast me. I've got Indestructible, Annihilator 4 because wizards couldn't help themselves, and you gotta shuffle me back in when I hit the graveyard because reanimating me too easily would be unfair. It's that level of insanity, all crammed onto one card. So the Eldrazi are super hype beasts, and actually we'll be seeing one of them as well inside these secret lairs. And speaking to those secret lairs, there is some absolute madness inside them. So let's dive right in. Real quick before we take a look at the individual cards, in terms of pricing, all of these secret lairs are exactly the same. $29.99 for the regular version and $39.99 for the foil version, and that price is in American dollars. So we are diving in with the Artist Series Volkan Baga. Now the Artist Series are where Wizards of the Coast let Magic artists choose the cards they wish to illustrate, and we get some really awesome results because of it. The first card from this secret lair is Elspeth Knight Errant, 2 white and 2 for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. She has 2+1 loyalty abilities. The first is to create a 1/1 white soldier creature, and the second is to give +3/+3 and flying to a target creature. Now those abilities are alright, but her ultimate is where it's really exciting. -8, you get an emblem with artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and lands you control have indestructible, right? And that ties in to her protective nature. She's shown in the artwork here on her basically adopted homeworld of Bant. We all know she's really from the world where New Capenna is, but she basically decided that Bant was going to be her home, and this is a reimagining of the original Elspeth, and I really love this artwork with the castle in the background and these leaves and vines growing down along the stonework behind her. It looks great. Now the next card we have is Patron Wizard. Such a different choice compared to Elspeth, and that's part of the fun of these artist series, right? So the Patron Wizard is a 2/2 human wizard that costs 3 blue mana. You have the ability when he's out to tap an untapped wizard you control, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. This is an incredibly powerful and obnoxious ability because this does not care about summoning sickness. Unlike normal abilities that have the tap symbol, this will allow you to tap any wizard as soon as you put it on the board. And once you get a couple wizards on the board, if your opponent hasn't already got some kind of foothold on the board, this will slow them down enough that they're essentially locked out of the game. I've been on both sides against Patron Wizard. It is wild. Now you'll notice as well, the flavor text here is in German. Now I suspect that is actually because it's Volkan Baga's secret lair as opposed to some error on Wizards of the Coast part. So I'm expecting that this is actually how the cards will appear in real life with German flavor text on an English printed card. But if Wizards updates that, I will let you guys know. Now the next card is the most insane card in all of the secret lairs. I was genuinely floored to see it, and that is Berserk. This is a card all the way back from the beginning of Magic, and they stopped printing it pretty much right at the beginning of Magic as well. It was only available in Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited. It was already out of print before I even started playing the game. Like, this is an awesome card. 1 green instant, you can cast it only before the combat damage step. Target creature gains trample and gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its power. At the beginning of the next end step, destroy that creature if it attacked this turn. So essentially, it's just double target creature's power, give it trample. If it attacked, it's destroyed at end of turn. Oh, boo-hoo! You can actually use it as a combat effect even. Your opponent can just swing at you with a little creature that you want gone, and you can go, you know what, I'll take double damage from it this turn, and it's destroyed. But most of the time, you just go beef boy on one of your own guys, right? Because Berserk is absolutely insane. This was an incredibly desirable card when I started playing. They only ever reprinted it once in a From the Vault treatment, and you've never been able to get it since. So even the From the Vault reprint, which is the easiest to get, that's like a $30 card. So the Berserk that's in here pretty much pays for this secret lair. This is one of those secret lairs where if you grab it, you're actually just going to end up coming out ahead, because there will never be enough Berserks out there to meet demand. It's funny that it's got the mythic symbol, because it was originally just an uncommon. And actually, you know what, since we talked about it so much, let me show you the original artwork for Berserk. It's ridiculous and hilarious. I love it, right? Look at this goofy guy. Coming to give you some sun. Anyways, let's move on to the next card. We've got Verduran Enchantress, another old school favorite of mine, reimagined with awesome artwork. 2 green and 1 for a 0/2. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, this human druid lets you draw a card. This is great for just feeding more stuff into your hand. Oh, I aspect wolfed my guy. Oh, I played a wild growth and I just keep drawing all these cards. It's fantastic. I mean, I'm talking really old school stuff here, but man, the artwork is awesome. I love this elderly, I mean, kind of actually gives me elf vibes, but it's a human, right? And look at the hair that's flowing off the top knot into these crazy little waves that are of magic. And then you have this little enchanted kind of dove being and all these sparkling motes flowing down. This is really mystical and absolutely awesome. All right, moving on to the next Artist Series Secret Lair. This one is from Rahn. The first card we get is Primeval Titan, the big fat green daddy coming out of the forest. 2 green and 4 for a 6/6 trampler. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Wizards didn't even go, you know what, let's make it basic. So nah, son, who even cares? Let him grab whatever lands. And then lo and behold, Primeval Titan started to get the banhammer in multiple locations because he is busted. I love the artwork on this one, man. I love the fact that it's this darkened forest and he's just standing there with the only light behind him, making it feel like you're trapped almost, right? Like you're down lower, he's up there with these gigantic antlers just glowering at you. And look at that club, man. It's just a full-on tree. He just grabbed it and uprooted. It's like, well, it doesn't even matter. This grew just when I walked on by. Nature flows up around him, but he certainly doesn't have an inviting and nurturing nature, right? Like, this is awesome. He does feel genuinely titanic. After that, we've got Huntmaster of the Fells, okay? So this is your flip werewolf. It's 1 red, 1 green, and 2 for a 2/2 human werewolf. When it enters the battlefield or transforms into Huntmaster of the Fells, you create a 2/2 wolf token and you gain 2 life. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, you transform Huntmaster of the Fells. So if you're familiar with the Daybound and Nightbound mechanics from more recent times, this is its precursor. So it flips and turns into the Ravager of the Fells. Unfortunately, we haven't been given the full-on artwork of it, so we just have this kind of back piece here, right? So you can see it's pretty much the same individual. You got this guy on the front, he's got his big old curved axe, he's got bear trap hanging from him, he's got the furs and everything, and he's got a laid out werewolf. Like, this guy goes hunting other werewolves, I guess, that are a problem, which is interesting because then you see the other side and now he's the gigantic werewolf. And if you're curious as to what the Ravager of the Fells does, on the other side, he's a 4/4 trampler. And whenever he transforms into the Ravager of the Fells, he deals 2 damage to target opponent and 2 damage to up to one of their creatures. So you basically get to smack your opponent for 2 and one of their creatures for 2. Not too shabby overall, right? Moving on, we've got Platinum Angel. This is such an impressive card for its ability. I remember the first time I saw this card, I was flabbergasted. I was like, wait, what? They came out with it in the Mirrodin block, right? 7 mana for a 4/4 flying angel. You can't lose the game. Your opponents can't win the game. And you just look at it and go, wait, hold. So I just put this out and I just can't lose? Like, in terms of in-your-face abilities that feel absolutely incredible and overpowered and you can't believe they exist, Platinum Angel is right up there at the top. Other abilities that fall under that spectrum for me are things like you get to control your opponent's entire turn. It just feels like it warps the entire nature of Magic. This Angel has something deep imbued into it that just makes it like, I can't lose as long as this thing's around. That's so awesome. And why wouldn't a Planeswalker create something like that one day? So it's just, man, it's so great. And I love that it's like an artificial being that is this kind of font of immortality in a way, but it not just keeps you around, it makes it so your opponents can't win. It's just that, it's amazing. Anyways, flavor text says, on shining argent wings she came, declaring that no harm would befall her charge. It's like, yeah, I'm the Platinum Angel. Nothing can stop me. And I love that the metal is all the same across the angel, right up to the sword, except for the blade, the part of like the hilt that's coming out, and the spike at the bottom of it. Her weapon is absolutely wild. I love it. It's so cool. It's like this one point of light on the rest of the card, and it looks so good. And look, it's more Eldrazi action. We got Kozilek, the Great Distortion. So 2 colorless and 8 gets you a fat 12/12 Eldrazi. When you cast a spell, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. So fill back up to a big juicy 7. It's got menace, because why wouldn't it? Look at the artwork. Are you going to block that thing alone? Hey, Billy, I need you to go out and block Kozilek. No. You're coming with me or I ain't going, buddy. And it's like, but I don't want to go. Look at its head. It's got like big floating Mickey Mouse plates for ears. I don't even know what it's doing. And look at the crazy flows of power that are swirling around his hands. You've got this kind of ashy, stormy sky that is bending to his will, like he's literally distorting existence. This is really cool. A very nice include. Let's move on to the next Artist Series Secret Lair. This one is Livia Prima. We're starting out with a Chroma Angel of Wrath. So 3 white and 5 for a 6/6 legendary angel with flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black, and protection from red. I feel like this was the first creature in Magic where Wizards went, let's see just how many keywords we can slam on one creature, right? It's just absolutely crazy. It's like the original flavor text was no rest, no mercy, no matter what. And it's like, yeah! She's just got such a great feel when she hits the board, where she comes in hard, and black and red were the colors that would have the easiest time getting rid of her, and she's got pro from both of them, right? So she comes in really hard. But I love the flavor concept that was chosen with this secret layer, because in the forefront you have a Chroma, right, looking all epic and unstoppable with her hand on her breastplate in that sort of like pledge of nothing shall stop me, right? And then you look at the flavor text and it says, although she wore Nivea's kind face, her heart held nothing but vengeance. So she's standing there pledging vengeance. But then if you look, you can see on one side you've got her wing, but on the other side, the wing is kind of curling away, the feathers are gone, and you have instead these little doves that are flying around Nivea, who is the person that a Chroma's built around. If you didn't know, Ixidor was a dream mage, and he was able essentially to turn his dreams into reality. He lost his wife Nivea and went nutso, and basically crafted a Chroma, an angel of wrath, out of the memories of his wife who was gone. So it's like she looks just like him, and he sends her out to just lay waste and rampage, and it's epic. Look at her. She's right there. Just this peaceful, like, I've got these little birds and doves, and then you look at the concept of those birds and her merged together into a Chroma, and it is just artistically and flavorly perfect. Like, it's so good. It's so good. All right, next, we've got Machias the Unhallowed. 3 black and 3 for a 5/5 legendary zombie cleric with Intimidate. Whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. The flavor text says, once a servant of the light, now a slave to the dark. And you have the same kind of concept going on with the artwork. You can see Macias in the front, the unhallowed version. He is now a zombie cleric. He went from being a hope of the people to their damnation. And you see in the background that you've got him there with his staff of Avacyn, right? But this is after the Church of Avacyn has kind of broken and fallen. And you see these undead like reaching up towards him. This is before he falls and becomes the bane of humanity. I love that he has Intimidate, because the idea of a zombie cleric that has somehow like managed to maintain its sentience is intimidating, right? He's not like the other zombies. Look at how well dressed he is. This isn't rotting finery, right? So there is a level of malevolence and sentience to it. And the fact that he will destroy any human that deals damage to you, it's like any human he comes across, he will just end. And now, instead of protecting the humans, he's beefing up and using his divine magic energy to make the undead more powerful and bring them back a second time. Like, it's absolutely wild and incredible. I love this artwork. I love it. It's so well done. Moving on to another excellent execution. We've got Glissa Sunseeker. This has to be the most flavor-filled secret lair, maybe of all time. And if not of all time, it is up there as a major contender. Glissa Sunseeker is 2 green and 2 for a 3/2 legendary elf warrior. She's got first strike, tap or destroy target artifact if its mana value is equal to the amount of unspent mana you have. This used to be more of a deal when mana burn was a thing. It's really weird. Like, if you want to destroy, let's say you want to destroy an artifact someone has that costs 4 mana. You would tap 4 mana into your mana pool, tap her to activate her ability while the mana was just sitting there waiting to be used. And then after the artifact was destroyed, you could just spend the mana however you wanted. So it is a very unique ability in the way that she cares about destroying artifacts. It's not pay that X mana, it's just have that X mana, right? Like, because Glissa is a very special elf who goes on to have a really big part of the history of Mirrodin. Essentially, she starts out as like a nobody, and then she becomes a hero of Mirrodin, going on this massive journey, and then ultimately she falls victim to the Phyrexians. And you can see it in the artwork. On this one side, you've got like her elven kin, where she originally came from, and then on the other side, you can see Vorinclex behind her, who's ready to convert her, to complete her, to turn her Phyrexian. And you can actually see some of the corruption. You've got this symmetrical sort of one side of her face is blackening. You can see purple hues on her body. You can see her one arm actually turning brown the way that natural vegetation would rot. Like, you can see as she's being turned into the vicious, evil, traitorous version she'll be. You know what? I'll put it up on the screen so you can see what she turns into. And she turns on and hunts down all her own like fellow people, the elves. Oh, it's so crazy. This is awesome. The flavor. Man, this secret lair is so good. Okay, next, we've got Livia mobilized for war. 1 red, 1 black, and 1 for a 3/3 flying vampire knight. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. It gains haste until end of turn, and it becomes a vampire as well as its other creature types. So once again, we've got some really cool artwork here. We've got Olivia in the forefront hefting her blade, and in the background, you can see Soren and this massive castle. It looks absolutely beautiful, and Olivia does have a history with Soren. So again, this does wrap up the concept of all 4 of these being a past and present variation card, and I adore this concept and would love to see it again in the future. After that, we have the Tokyo Land Secret Lair. And this is a secret lair that I actually reported would be coming back in September of 2021. And it took so long that I thought Wizards might have scrapped it. But indeed, here it is. We have 5 different lands done in a very, very unique style. You have your plains, where you can see some cars driving through this massive intersection area in a downtown metro kind of vibe. Moving after that, we've got an island, which is one of my more favorite ones here. You got the bridge in the background, the boats in the front. You got a little gaggle of birds flying up in front of the clouds. It's got an idyllic kind of vibe to it overall. You got your little fisherman, looks like he's waving on the boat. Like, I like this one. And then after that, we've got the swamp, which is like a, I don't know, maybe a rundown mall in a garbo part of town. You got that little waving cat. You got a crazy big pair of lips above it. It totally gives me the vibes of a bunch of the different animes we've been watching. Actually, this would probably fit into the anime we're watching right now called Dorohedoro. I may have just mangled the name. But anyways, moving on, you've got the mountain. I like this one for its impressive sense of scale. You have the mountain in the background. You have the setting sun, right? And then you've got the, or is it, it would be the rising sun, wouldn't it? Is that the sun rising over the mountain? Either way, you've got the mountain way up there. Then you've got these huge tall buildings. And then you've actually got all the people down there with a little girl kind of pointing up saying, take a look at what's going on up there. It's got a great vibe, but not as great as the forest, which is my absolute favorite. This looks so inviting to me, right? You've got the crazy awesome looking little wooden temple posts. I don't know what that's called, that Shinto stuff. I'm not 100 on that. It looks great, and it's framed with the trees on either sides, with the mushrooms coming down along. But then when you look down, you can see what look like little fairy folk houses, right? And it's like, oh yeah, man, Princess Mononoke little forest spirits living there. I am down with that. This one has some fun flavor, and you get one of each of these lands in the secret layer. So obviously, if you want to have a bunch of them, you're going to have to load up. Then, after that, we've got the Rule the Room secret layer. Now, starting out with Arcanus the Omnipotent. He is 3 blue and 3 for a 3/4 wizard. He has tap to draw 3 cards, pay 2 blue and 2, return Arcanus the Omnipotent to its owner's hand. Flavor text says, he's journeyed where none have been before. Now he returns to ensure that none follow. Arcanus is an incredibly cool character. He was a pit fighter, and most of the pit fighters were basically just brawny boys, but he fought with his mind, and he's learned so much that basically he's become omnipotent, right? And he can share insane amounts of knowledge with you. You summon him up, and just by tapping him, you can draw into 3 cards. That's like ancestral recall level power, and he can give that to you over and over. And then you can pour mana into him, and he can disappear into the ether, and you can basically summon him right back up so he can survive through all kinds of things. He's an incredibly powerful card, and given really awesome artwork here. He looks massively mystical, right? You can't see any element of his actual physical body except for his yellow glowing eyes. It's impossible to make out, what is he? Is he a merfolk? Is he a human? Is he a kobold? What is he some kind of undead? Is there actually a physical form under there? Has he become sort of like an ephemeral spirit being? There's just so much to it, and the mystical power that's flowing up, the trees around behind him, that stuff is really cool. The only thing that genuinely feels a little bit weird is this secret lair is called Rule the Room, and everybody else is a king or queen in the secret lair. Arcanus is like a lord of knowledge, but the thing is, you have Empress Galena, and there's also Aboshin, the Cephalid Emperor, who are literally both Emperor and Empress, and you could put them into this, and they're both blue and have roughly the same casting cost and are also desirable cards, so it just feels odd based on the flavor concept of the secret lair for those not to be chosen. But regardless, moving on to Queen Marchesa. 1 black, 1 white, 1 red, and 1 gets you a massively ambitious lady, all right? She's a 3/3 human assassin with death touch and haste. She don't waste no time. When she enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. If you ally yourself with her, she will put you in power. And I love the fact that she doesn't accept anybody else being in power. She goes, at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent's the monarch, you create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with death touch and haste. So right away, dispatch them assassins. We're taking them out. I love it. And the artwork, Marchesa looks intense. Regal just standing there holding that rod of power. I am in command here. The crown situated on her head. Her throne looks amazing behind her. And those lines of power radiating off the back of the design of the throne really add to it, man. I love it. After that, we've got Brimaz, King of Oreskos. 2 white and 1 nets you a 3/4 cat soldier king. He's got vigilance, Whenever he swings in, you create a 1/1 cat soldier creature token with vigilance that's also attacking. And whenever he blocks a creature, create a 1/1 cat soldier token with vigilance that's blocking that creature. I love the concept of this. This is like a Leonin cat warrior who is so respected as a king that people just throw them, whatever he's doing. He's such a great leader. Does he charge into battle? There will always be soldiers following him. Is he stopping to try and defend the homeland? The soldiers will rally to him. My lord, we come! You know what I mean? Like, it's got such a great vibe. And you look at the artwork, and I mean, Brimaz, he looks less intense in this artwork, but in some ways more regal and commanding. I want his sword to be bigger, though. I feel like his sword needs to be bigger for a 3/4. Obviously, he wields it with considerable skill, but I just feel like that blade, I want that blade to be bigger. It's crazy how the blade, like, pretty much matches the color of his fur and the ornamentation on the front of his armor as well. That is a little bit of narcissism for you, right? But as a king, you need to have that. You got to impress your subjects. Moving on. We got Savra, Queen of the Golgari. 1 green, 1 black, and 2 for a 2/2 legendary elf shaman. Whenever you sack a black creature, you can pay 2 life. If you do, each other player sacks a creature. Whenever you sack a green creature, you may gain 2 life. So she's all about making sacrifices, right? Makes sense. First of all, leadership requires that sometimes. Secondly, she's leading over the Golgari, and the Golgari believe in the cycle of life and rebirth and rot and growth, and so it works, right? Look at the artwork. She's got a mega imposing vibe with that scythe held off to the side. She's got a skull on a staff in her other hand. The eyes and mouth are open, mystical powers flowing out, and she's just got this imperious look with her kind of chin jutting forward just a bit and her head up imperiously. She totally has that commanding royal vibe. Flavor text says, nature's most raw beauty is the circle, perfect in its continuance, with no break between death and life. I mean, that sounds super Golgari to me, right? The final secret layer we're going to look at is Kelogsloops. Now, this was done by an Australian artist that Wizards contacted, and this starts out with Mystic Remora. And I gotta say, I love this guy's art style. It's dope. 1 blue for an enchantment with cumulative upkeep of 1. This was originally a common back in Ice Age. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 4. So yeah, you got to keep paying extra every turn. Like, you got to pay 1 the first turn to keep this enchantment around, 2, then 3, then 4. But while it's out, your opponent's got to be like, I'm either casting creatures or not casting spells, because I'm not paying 4 extra for everything, and I'm not letting you draw, right? Like, this is really, really solid. Flavor text says, the bond between spellcaster and familiar allows the mage to detect even the smallest of magical ripples and use them to their advantage. I love this. I love the idea of a gigantic remora as your familiar, right? And I just, the way that this lady looks with her hair looking like pure flowing energy and her robes billowing up around her, the way that she's holding this fish, it almost makes it feel like she's playing a musical instrument, right? Like, you've got these circular energy lines, and I don't know, there's just something about it that gives that feeling to it. I love this dude's art style. Like, take a look at Retreat to Coralhelm. Doesn't it look inviting? 1 blue and 2 for an enchantment that has landfall. So whenever a land enters the battlefield, you get to choose either to tap or untap target creature or scry 1. So you can get a lot of value out of this enchantment over time. The flavor text says, their enclave overrun, the merfolk took refuge within beauty. That's cool, man. I like the flavor text. And I love the gigantic shell that's jutting up in the middle. You've got all these glorious waterfalls. Like, I'm looking at this, and in my ears, I can hear the water rushing over the edges. I can see the mist that will be spraying up at the bottom. And you can even, like, feel the moisture in the air. This artwork is fantastic. Man, I love Magic cards so much. Okay, moving on. Burgeoning. 1 green for an enchantment that says, whenever an opponent plays a land, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Flavor text says, given time, a single seed can sprout a mighty forest. So obviously, the more people you're playing against, commander, things like this is awesome. But just even in a 2-player game, you play this on the first turn, it's like, I'll play this. Oh, go ahead. Okay, you played a land. Great, I'll play a land too. My turn, I'll play a land. Look at that. I got 3 lands on my second turn. And if you continue that, I got 5 lands on my third turn. I mean, you need to have spells to cast with it, but still, it can get nutty, right? And the artwork is awesome. You have this cool looking like crescent moon gate, and you have a figure who has come up to it, who's illuminated from the back. You've got all these flower petals kind of floating through the air, little branches reaching up, but the figure who's there in the middle of the gate is actually hovering up above the ground with this crooked mystical staff. The cloak is like drifting off to the side, but what I really like are the golden like light antlers that are coming up off of her head. There's just something so awesome about the way that crescent moon looks above it, and then the fact that her antlers are just a little bit wider and curve around it. Like if you were to move that crescent moon down, it would nestle perfectly above her head in between those stag antlers. This is visually striking on an awesome card. It's everything Secret Lair should be. Moving on, we've got Utopia Sprawl. 1 green for an enchantment that you put specifically on a forest, right? When it enters the battlefield, you choose a color. Whenever Enchanted Forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of the chosen color. This originally came out in the first Ravnica block, and it was a common, and never in a million years would I have predicted that it would become a massive card, but it certainly has proven its place, and people love this. So giving one a treatment like this makes perfect sense, and it's absolutely lovely, right? Look at that artwork. You've got this pretty little lass on the water side here. She's got an umbrella slung over her shoulder with a fox. They're both kind of looking off into the distance. You've got birds flying by. You've got bunnies leaping over the river. It's so idyllic and gorgeous. What an awesome card to end off with. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for coming by, my friends. Big shout out to my patrons, and I will see you all for the next video.